Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to keep looking at the Rise of the Eldrazi set, and we're going to look at Leveler's Glory, which is a white and blue deck. So let's dive in and start looking at it. So, the theme of the deck here is level up creatures, which were a set of cards introduced in the set. They were in every color, but really there's only this deck and the next one we're going to look at that really really explores them. And in my mind, it doesn't explore them too well, because spoiler, these are the only cards in the deck that use level up. These four. So level up, if you don't know what it does, and I don't blame if you do, it's quite obscure, mechanic. It's on probably less than 20 cards, and it hasn't shown up for ages because I don't think it was very popular. So basically, what it means is these creatures, as you can see here down the side, they have a level up ability and a cost. And the cost means you put a level counter on this creature. Level up only as a sorcery, and then you see at the side here they have at certain levels they get new abilities, and their power and toughness changes. So if you think about maybe like the classes, I guess from the D&D set, like fairly recently, that's sort of the same, like where you pay mana and you level up and you get the next level of benefits. But in this one, they're not cumulative. Like you just take the highest level. So yeah, it's kind of, they look kind of ugly, these cards, honestly. It means they can't have any flavor text. I suppose another similarity is like Prototype from Brothers War, in the fact you're casting something for a different cost and it comes in with different stats and stuff, but still essentially has its ability. I suppose that's sort of close to what it is as well. But yeah, let's talk about these actual level up cards. So one of the rares of the deck, the foil face one, is Student of Warfare. This art is always, before I talk about the card, I think this art is super weird. Like that, like the horse doesn't look right. And I can't tell what it is. It just looks off to me. If you agree, say something in the comments, because I think there's something a bit off about this art that doesn't, that it's stupid, but it stops me like really liking this card. But anyway, so 1 white mana, it comes in as a 1/1. Has level up for 1 white. So the other important thing about level up is they don't come in with level counts on them. So they start at level 0, which I think was something that was quite unintuitive actually when it was revealed in market research. That's why people didn't like it, because it was it's fairly unintuitive. So they start at level 0. So you level up for 1. If it has 1 level counter on it, it's still a 1/1. When it has 2 to 6 level counters on it, is a 3/3 of first strike. So you could potentially do that turn 2. Like planes, play this. Second turn, another planes, tap both, get 2 counters on it, and then it's a 3/3 first strike, which is like a good thing to be swinging with on turn 2. It's really aggressively costed, but then you have to like sink a load of mana in it to get up to then level 7+, which is then it's a 4/4 with double strike, which is like a really good threatening creature. But you're having to sink a lot of mana to get that. The payoff being that you're getting it early, I suppose. But if you draw this late game, it's not as good, because then I guess late game you still have the mana to do it straight away, I suppose. I mean, like it's an okay card. It's an okay card. I think it's the probably like the better rare in this deck, honestly. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I think it's one of the better level up cards for sure. So the other rare in the deck is Hedron Field Purists, which is 2 white. It's a 0/3, which is horrible. It's just there's no excuse for that. It could be 1 white mana for a 0/3, it'd be absolutely fine. So it has level up for 2 colors and a white. So at level 0 does nothing. At level 1 to 4, it becomes a 1/4, and if a source would deal damage to you or a creature you control, you prevent 1 of that damage. Sure. And at level 5 level 5+. So by this point you've sunk like 15 mana into it. It's then a 2/5, and if a source would deal damage to you or a creature you control, you prevent 2 of that damage. This is just a bad card, I think. It's like you have to sink so much mana into it. You have to pay 3 anyway, and then you have to sink another 15 mana into it to give it get it up to level 5, and then all it is, it's just a 2/5, and you just prevent 2 damage to stuff, which is like okay. like you're essentially, you've got damage reduction 2 up essentially, but it's not worth it. It's in my mind, it's just not worth it. I feel like this effect really should be like you are just immune to damage. It should just be that. Yeah, really, really bad rare. I think like really, like if this had been uncommon, I could maybe understand, but it's meant to be rare, and it's just very disappointing. And then like the only other level up creature in the deck is two caravan escorts. So 1 white mana, comes in as a 1/1. It has level up for 2 generic. So at level 1 to 4, it's just a 2/2. Sure. And then at level 5 plus, then it suddenly jumps all the way up to being a 5/5 with first strike, which is again like a huge leap. But again, you've like sunk 10 mana into it to get that. Like, is that? I don't know. Is that worth it? I don't know. I don't remember playing with like level up creatures because like I didn't think they were that great. I maybe tried it once and like I don't know. It's just it puts you in this situation like, well, I really want to cast my spells from my hand, but I've got all my level up creatures, and like if I'm not leveling them up, then they're just bad creatures. Yeah, it would have been nice. I don't know. I think like this is really off topic. I'm really we will move on from this slide eventually when I'm done rambling. But I feel like Renown from was it Origins? Magic Origins? Whichever set it was that had Renown. I think that is like a perfect way of doing this kind of like level up mechanic. You swing once, if they do damage, they are now renowned and they get the counters and then they get their extra effects. I think that is a much better, elegant way of doing this kind of effect. Anyway, I mean, that's with like 10 more years of like design hindsight, I suppose. Anyway, you have a single venerated teacher. So this is so 2 colors and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 level counters on each creature you control with level up. So this is like a really strong effect actually, and especially at common. It's a shame there is only one of them in the deck. And I don't think there's any real way to like bounce it. So you could like just keep casting it, because this would obviously help your levelers like a lot, because it gets them, you don't have to keep spending mana on each of their individual abilities, you can just keep casting Venerated Teacher. But I don't think there's any way to really abuse this effect of him entering the battlefield multiple times. And also, like, this is one of the few cards that cares about leveling up, really. I mean, there are a few more, but they're not in this deck, which is just very confusing. And then that's it. That's the end of like the level theme. And now we just have kind of a generic grab bag of like white blue cards, I suppose. But we'll look at all of them. So we have a single Alpha Guard Hound, 2 and 1 white for a 2/2 with flash, which is okay. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +0/+3 in turn. So yeah, sure, it can come in and block as a 2/5 if needs be, or like help out another creature survive like removal or something, I guess. Yeah, it's fine. It's uncommon actually. I just noticed that's not. It's okay. It's still okay. It's still okay. A single lone missionary. 1 and a white for a 2/1. When it ends battlefield, you gain 4 life. This is pretty good. I remember this being a pretty good common to have, because it was, it's a 2/1 for 2, which is all right. Obviously leans towards being more aggressive, and gaining 4 life. Is pretty good as well. I think, even gaining 4 life for 2 mana is okay, and throw on a 2/1 body onto it at the same time is okay, I think. A single Soulbound Guardians, 4 and a white for a 4/5 with Defender and Flying. So like really big, intimidating Defender. Yeah, but then like that's all there is. That's all there is. So there is like a Defender theme in Rise of the Eldrazi, and like no deck really does it, because there were effects to like let defenders attack, or I say stuff that's synergized, especially with defenders. None of them are in this deck, so this is just a big old wall, big old deterrent, which is, it's fine, but that's all it is. 2 McKindy Griffins, it's just 4 mana for a 2/4 flyer. Yep, it's like, Fighting Drake stats, Azure Drake stats. Yeah, it's okay. Sure, it's a flyer. Glory Seeker, it's just a 2/2 for 2, and that's it. I feel like there is no excuse for having this card in the deck, like at all. There are even, you'd have white level up creatures that were, that could have replaced this. There is, in my mind, it makes me really angry that this card is actually in this deck, because there is absolutely no reason for it to be there. And I'm really going off on a tangent on this video, but it's like, I don't know, it's cards like that in these decks that made these pre-constructed decks seem like a bit of a joke, like a bit of a new player trap. Because, you know, like, why would you buy a deck when you're just like, oh, it's got a useless card like this in it? Like, it really annoys me because these decks should be like emissaries. They should be like ambassadors for the game, you know, to get people excited. And they should have something for new players, and they should have something for existing players. Like, an existing player should see one of these pre-constructed decks and be like, you know what, I will buy that because maybe it's cheaper than getting them individually. And, you know, when, you know, the deck is just full of stuff like that, it's, you know, like a Glory Seeker, like why bother? I don't know. It makes me really angry. Anyway, on the subject of angry as well, just here's a bunch of M10 cards. You know, so we're not even getting a lot of new cards from the latest set, are we? So single Wall of Frost, 1 and 2 blue for a 0/7 defender. I mean, it's good. This is, Wall of Frost is generally a good defender card, but again, that's all it does. When it blocks a creature, the creature doesn't untap during its control's next untap step. Yep, like perfectly good. Another like good deterrent, I guess. You know, makes an opponent reluctant to attack, so you build up your level up creatures, I suppose, maybe. A single alluring siren. I really like this effect in blue, and I kind of wish it got it. These days, I think goad is more like used, where you force attacks. Yeah, because that's a mechanic used in a lot of commander sets. But I like this effect on like blue cards of this era. Like, one of my favorite blue cards is Courtly Provocateur, which is very similar to this card, and it might be in some precons in the set where it is, which I think is M12 or M13. But yeah, Alluring Siren is 1 card in a blue for a 1/1. Tap, you force a creature attack this turn, which is fine. You know, make something attack and then you block it with either Wall of Frost or the Soulbond Guardians. Yeah. Single Angel's Mercy, just 4 mana to gain 7 life. Yep, sure. Oh, more M10 cards. Single Negate. Like, Negate is a good card, but like, come on, like, we've got a new set here. Why is so much of this deck M10? You counter a non-creature spell, sure. A single Unsummon, we all know what Unsummon does. And Sleep, which has shown up a lot in these decks, 2 and 2 blue, you tap all creatures a player controls. Yeah, this is a good effect. It's a good effect, but it's just, I'm just so bored of seeing it all the time in like any of these Zendikar decks that include blue. Just because like the ratios for uncommons in these decks is so off. Like, so we just keep seeing cards like Sleep over and over, and that's part of like what makes these decks sort of, I don't know, just blend together, and they just don't really stand out in my mind. Like, I'm really angry this episode. I'm really sorry like that's coming across, but it's just very frustrating to look at these decks and see them so, I don't know, carelessly put together, and just, I don't know, it makes me sad to think that a new player getting into the game maybe picked up this deck and just did not have a good time with it, or like were just not excited and just did not continue with the game. You know, like, oh yeah, Magic, I tried it like 5 years ago and just, it wasn't for me because of, like a deck like this. I don't know. It really bothers me. Anyway. A single fleeting distraction, 1 blue mana to give a creature -1/-0 turn you draw a card. I mean, at least it draws a card, I suppose. This is a very, very weak combat trick, and it's just, why bother having just 1 in them? Yeah, here I am complaining like, oh, there's not any cards from the new set in here, and then they are, and then it's like, oh no, not these ones, not like that. These are rubbish. Anyway, yeah, it's just not great. And a single Sea Beyond. I think I used to give this card more attention than it deserved. So 1 card's in the blue. You draw 2 cards, which is like, oh, draw 2 for 2 is okay. But then you shuffle a card from your hand back into your library, which, at the time I thought like, that's not bad. But now I see it's just like, I think I'd rather just pay the 1 extra man just for, like divination, just to get the draw 2 without the extra complication, I suppose. A single domestication, 2 and 2 blue. It's an aura goes on a creature. You control the enchanted creature, but at the beginning of your end step, if their power is 4 or greater, you sacrifice domestication. So again, I feel like I would just have mind control and just pay the extra 1 and not have to worry about, I don't know, but it's coming down a turn earlier, I suppose, isn't it? That sometimes makes the difference. It's okay, I suppose. Two narcolepsies. This is okay. I remember quite liking this. So 1 in the blue. Aura goes on a creature. At the beginning of each upkeep, if it's untapped, it gets tapped again. So I definitely preferred this kind of card to the usual like, oh, it doesn't untap during untap step, because this lets something tap, but then it immediately gets tapped again. So this one is actually, this is pretty good, I think. Or it's okay. It's okay. It's like, this is as close as blue gets to like a pacifism effect, I think. And then a single Luminous Wake, 2 and a white, or it goes on a creature. Whenever enchanted creature attacks or blocks, you gain 4 life. Sure. So it stacks with lifelink, I suppose. It benefits a creature that has less than 4 power, I suppose. It's not reliant on them doing damage, so it's like an interesting take on it, I suppose. Bit of a weird card. It feels a bit random how it's been designed, but yeah, it's okay. And then 8 islands and 10 planes. So what could have been basically all these level up cards. I have no idea why they just were not in this deck. Like Knight of Cliffhaven. I mean, I know it's the one on the far side, but we're gonna just like why Glory Seeker and not Knight of Cliffhaven, which is it's a 2/2 for 2, and it plays to the theme of the deck, which is level up, and also it becomes an evasive creature if you sink the mana into it. Like there's no reason why Glory Seeker. I'm really going on about it, but it really does annoy me. Kabira Vindicator as well, so 3 and a white for a 2/4, and when you level up, it has an Anthem effect, which I feel is like pretty good. Yeah, again, that could have been in here. Time of Heroes, like, just blows my mind why this is not in here. This is like it's made for this deck. It's enchantment for 1 and white, and every creature you control that has a level counter on it gets +2/+2. Like it's made for this deck, and it's just really disappointing how this one's been put together. And there's even more cards that could have worked. So Champions Drake is like another one of those rare cards that kind of has some synergy with level counters. So it's 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer, but it becomes a 4/4 as long as you control a creature that has at least 3 level counters on it. So that's it could have been in here and it wasn't, and I just don't understand why it wasn't. Really, it's just really frustrating. And like really I just don't think there were enough cards in the set. It's, I sort of said before, it's just absolute third set syndrome, Rise of the Eldrazi, and it's frustrating because there's a lot of individually very good cards within the set, and these decks are just not using them properly, I think, and that's what really frustrates me. Training Grounds would have been great in here if you really wanted to incentivize people buying this. Throwing Training Grounds is one of the rares. It goes excellent with all the level up creatures because it reduces their level up costs, and like it just combos with like a billion cards. So yeah, Training Grounds would have been a great rare in here instead of the Hedron purists who are just awful. And then the alternative as well is not to include blue. But green could have worked in here, I suppose, because green had some level up creatures, and Kazandu Tuskcaller is here representing all the green level up creatures. But this would have been a good alternate rare as well, like if the deck had been white green. So 1 in a green, 1/1, and as it level ups, you make elephant tokens, which is fine, adds to the board. But again, it's this thing of you having to put a lot of mana into it to make it work out. So. Yeah, and also with it being white-green, then it would have clashed with the Totem Armor deck, and that's a whole thing. But anyway, that's why it's what could have been. So yeah, in summary, this deck really frustrates me. It really annoys me. It's like, why bother pretending like the level up creatures are a theme when you have like 4 of them? It just makes me really angry. And like the card selection here is just. It's just bad. I know I'm really hyper focusing on that Glory Seeker, but like it really represents my my frustration with all these Rise of the Eldrazi decks. Because I don't think any of them are that good. Like I just think they're very disappointing. Yeah, so a bit of a downer there, but yeah, I don't like this one. And the thing is, it wouldn't have taken much to make it okay, I suppose. But I don't know. Don't know why these decks were built the way they were. But anyway, those are just my my very angry thoughts about this one. I haven't been. Maybe it's white blue as well because it's white blue. It's my least favorite color combination. Maybe it lit the fire of rage in me. But anyway, those were my thoughts on this deck. If you've got any thoughts, comments, stories, opinions about this deck, or like the level up creatures, anything like that, or just just how these decks are put together, stick a comment below. I'll give them a read. Always like reading people's comments. But I'll be back next time. We're going to look at another Rise of the Eldrazi intro pack, which is another level up deck. So you can skip that one if you want. It'll probably be more of the same, I suppose. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.